Welcome today, of course, Thursday, March 24th, 2022 for Technology Drop-In Thursdays. I want to do a couple of follow-ups from last week. So Calendly and Zapier are a couple of the different apps that we talked about. Calendly allows you to have a booking page for yourself. So it creates a page that you can give to people and they can book. Again, a reminder, this is external. Internal, you're going to continue using Outlook and the scheduling assistant. But if if you're an instructor that have a bunch of students that you're trying to do hours for, if you deal with a lot of external people, a way for them to book with you. I'm going to mute everyone there because it seems to be coming through. If you do a lot of work with external people, rather than going, are you busy now or whatever, they can book an appointment there. And Zapier, as I demonstrated last week, allows you to create a contact in Outlook, and then Zapier every 15 minutes will go and sync that contact information to Google. So as you're sharing files, you don't have to know anyone's email. You can actually use their names. So their instructions are in the MacEwan Help Center. So if you want to play around with that, by all means, help yourself there. Just a reminder, these are not apps that are supported by technology support. So they are not official apps. This is just something that we have access to. They've been reviewed by MacEwan. Our security and privacy guys are okay with it. It's just that if you call tech support and asking for help, we will tell you, no, that's not us. We don't do that. Microsoft has a cool tool called AI Builder. So it's Artificial Intelligence Builder. And basically, it's just using robotic processes. So the link that I put into the show notes there, and I'll paste it in the chat here in a second, will take you to this builder page. And it basically uses artificial intelligence to do some really cool things. The one that I always like to show people, I did a bunch of work on this about a year and a half ago. I haven't touched it since then, but this is a cool one, extract information from invoices. So basically what this particular AI automation does is, let's say that I get, invoices from Grandin Toy. So I get a bunch of those every year, every month or something like that. Well, instead of my going copy paste and add them to a spreadsheet or add them into PeopleSoft or whatever tool we're using, you can actually get the artificial intelligence to go through, recognize all these different pieces of data here, and then copy and paste that into a spreadsheet or Excel sheet. You can, using the desktop version of the AI Builder, actually open up a separate app like PeopleSoft or whatever we use, because I'm not a financial guy, and copy and paste that in there. So AI Builder is something that it's geeky, but it sure can save you a lot of time. So take a chance, take a look, see what's in there. There's a bunch of stuff, templates that are already created for you. And of course, you get more functionality out of the desktop. By all means, play around. It's fun stuff. Microsoft Lists. So we've talked about lists before. So lists, as I mentioned, is like spreadsheet for dummies. It kind of combines the spreadsheets and access databases together. And those are created right within a Microsoft SharePoint site. So they're referred to now as Microsoft Lists. They used to be called SharePoint Lists. But basically, like I said, it's just a spreadsheet kind of function in it. What's nice about it is if you go under integrate, Power BI is built into that. Now, Power BI allows us to connect data and get all sorts of different charts and reports. So when you select Power BI for any list that you're currently using and go visualize the list, it will go and build this dashboard like this. This dashboard is corrected directly to your list. So as you make changes and updates in the list, it's going to automatically update in here. What's kind of neat about this dashboard is as I click on different elements, it updates everything all around. So here I've got, if you take a look at my original list, we're talking about computers. Here are the different types of computers. Here's the status of the different computers. And Microsoft, when you build it, says, hey, I'm going to try and build a bunch of reports using all these different things. So here we have the laptop sign out by computer type. Here it has taken a look at the return date. Here are the different statuses. And they're all connected. So if I want to look at out for repairs, there's two here. If I click on it, it actually changes all the data and all the other graphs here. So I can see one of those items that's out for repair is a Windows machine. The other is a Chromebook. And as you click on any of these kind of things, or I can go up top here, click here, it updates all the different charts and stuff. Now, I'm not a big chart guy. I don't spend a lot of time building these different reports and dashboards, but if you wanted, you could use this, and then rather than having people try and figure out the data in this list, so let's say this is 300 items, it'd be a lot easier for them to visualize it by going into here. And there is, when you go through the help in it, there are ways of going through and taking the tutorials. You'll get a better idea of like, what are the different kinds of charts that I want? How can I combine the two together? This is just a quick and dirty that Microsoft provides us, but if you're really into the geeky stuff, you can get a lot of power out of this. So that's Power BI. Oh, Power Automate app is now available in Teams. So Power Automate, as we've talked about in the past, basically is workflows automation. And when you go to Power Automate's main page, it basically is just going to give you all different automations. The nice thing is when I am in Teams, so you can see I'm in Teams here. If I go under the three dots and look for the app, which is right here, when I go into Teams and I go create, it says, hey, you're in Teams. I'm not going to show you a bunch of different automation templates for different tools. So here we're just seeing just Microsoft Teams. So there's a filter in there, gives us just the team stuff because we're in Teams. And there are some really cool things that are in there. Follow up on a message I've talked about in the past. I use that all the time. Love that one. Start an approval process when a file is added to SharePoint. Notify a team of a new SharePoint list item. So SharePoint list refers to this thing here. So if someone adds something new, it'll send a note out to a channel somewhere on one of your teams. Or if someone adds a new file to SharePoint, it'll send a notice out to the the Microsoft Team channel. So that if you have a space that maybe there's not a lot of activity on it, but when you add something, you want that group of people to be notified, this is a great way of doing it. And those automations are all based on the fact that you're in Teams. So even as I hit see more templates, that's going to show me all of them. If I want to see everything that Power Automate can do, you can click on here and that takes you back to the main Power Automate page and you can work from there. And as an example of that file one, this morning I was playing around with that. So if I added a file, there's the name of the automation that I put in, and there's the actual name of the file that I created. It's in this folder here, and I can hit view file and it'll open up the file if I need to use it. So that's the cool thing about it. The SharePoint is that not only is it the lists that it works in, it's also the files. And you can get all sorts of great automation going on and notifications. And we can start weaning off using our email, which just ends up being clutter, and just move all that stuff more into our Microsoft Teams, where all the power really is. Google Duo Effects comes to Meets. So let me. You know what? Hang on. I got two more Microsoft stuff. So let me just move this around here, and I'll pop the Microsoft and I'll do the Google stuff last. New move and copy experience in OneDrive and SharePoint. So if you've done any playing around with this, here's OneDrive. I can go in, find a file here, and if I go and right-click and do move, or copy, either one, we have a new screen interface for that. So it's a little bit easier than the way they did before. You had to kind of click some back arrows and stuff. This is a little cleaner. If I was deep into something like that, I can easily go up the path here to go up higher. Quick access, these are items that I use a fair bit or I've used lately. I can also favorite a SharePoint site and that'll probably show up there. But this allows us to just quickly move files from OneDrive to SharePoint, or if I'm in SharePoint, I can do it the other way, SharePoint to OneDrive, or from SharePoint to SharePoint. But it's just a lot easier this way when the stuff's off to the side there than what was typically done. And that's a really new change, like probably in the last couple of days that they've put that in there. So much easier to work with. Microsoft News there's a podcast called Super Simple 365, and they basically go through and do all sorts of news stuff. So some of this stuff is where I get my info from. But if you wanted to set up an RSS feed to say, hey, notify me when this show has changes, you could do that. But you can go in, and this is where These guys will go through, they've got a video podcast. They list the different articles that of what's changed in the last week or so, as well as a video to demonstrate some of that stuff. Personally, I just kind of scan through here. You also get to see stuff that Microsoft has said was going to come, but then they've delayed it. So there is another place for those kind of things under the admin panel, but here you can see from these guys, they're telling you what's been delayed versus what's now available. And lastly, Google Duo. So Google Duo Effects. So Google Duo is the simple video chat. So whether you're on a Mac or Windows machine or what Android device, it doesn't matter. I mean, that's the beauty of Google. It doesn't care what platform you're in. Google Duo is a video call. It has nothing to do with calendars and appointments and stuff. I'm going to call my mom. I hit a button, it rings on her end, we start talking. Pretty much that's it. Very similar to what FaceTime is for the Apple people. So Google Duo also has a bunch of different effects and stuff that are now being moved over into Meets. Not yet in our domain for Meets, but I'm just going to show you on the personal side of things on my mobile device. So let me just bring up my QuickTime screen here, and I'm just going to start a new meeting. So I'm going to start an instant meeting just because I don't need to invite anyone to this. But you'll see in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a video, and just right below here where that little star is, that's where I can get different effects. Now, if we do this on hang on a sec, it's coming. If we do this on the desktop version or using a browser, you do get some of these effects. So you do get the background where they'll go and see how the background's a little bit fuzzier now. Well, it will be if I do that. There we are. So it just changed the fuzziest. So you can do that. You can throw in some video effects or some background effects on the desktop or the browser version. However, here, if I keep going, you'll notice at the very bottom here, like very, very bottom, I'm on a section called backgrounds. If I go to styles, that allows me to do some kind of cool stuff here where I can change the background, and the background's black and white, but I'm still in color. And if I go to filters, that's where we get the fun stuff where you can put on the different head and stuff. Troy, are you here? Because this is your area of expertise when it comes to putting filters on and stuff. So that's part of what we see now available on the mobile device of Google Meets. And I'm sure that'll, on the personal side right now, eventually that'll come out to the workplace as well, unless they decide that the workplace is not a place to have fun. But that's about it. Okay, that's it. Any questions, comments? All right, then we'll just stop there.